Now let's welcome the second Speaker of the House on the affirmative side, Mariel Tabuada, for her 5-minute constructive speech.
People ought to be free to do as they wish, provided that they are mentally competent and that their actions do not harm others. Her most honorable moderator, the most polite assembly, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant afternoon to everyone. It has long been a controversy around the world that euthanasia physically administered, now that it has reached the shores of the Philippines. Allow me to give you the team's plans before the legalization and after the proposition has been established in the country. But before I lay down to you the plans of this side of the House, let me first review of what my dear opponent said a while ago. First, he stated that euthanasia is often claimed to be intrinsically wrong since it is an act of killing. Ladies and gentlemen, we do admit that most cases of killing is regarded on both ethnic and religious grounds as intrinsically wrong, but it is also true under certain very specific circumstances that killing is regarded as excusable, understandable, and sometimes obligatory. For example, in war, self-defense and in capital punishment, thus there is no adequate reason to think that killing must be regarded wrong when it meets the two conditions outlined previously. That is, when it is in accord with the wishes and values of the person in question, and when it prevents great suffering for that person. Second, opponents claim that allowing euthanasia would lead to widespread abuse. This so-called slippery slope argument holds that allowing some physicians to assist in suicide will lead to the widespread killing of vulnerable patients. However, this claim is not supported by adequate data. There is no reliable evidence for this argument. There is no record of abuse in the Netherlands which permits active euthanasia and physician-assisted suicide. There is no such data in Oregon, where about 15 patients took advantage of the law in its first year of existence in 1998 to request a prescription of a lethal drug from their physicians and then actually used it. The slippery slope argument should not be taken lightly, but like potential for abuse arguments that oppose social change. It is not an adequate argument if it is not based in fact. Third, opponents claim that permitting euthanasia would threaten the integrity of the medical profession since, according to its primary function, is to cure, not to kill. Rather, the integrity of the medical profession is now jeopardized. Euthanasia, for most part, remains underground, and if physicians are willing to provide this service, they do it under the shadow of the law. Making euthanasia legal would erect the legal conditions within which effective protections for patients should be maintained. Fourth, our opponents claim that killing is against the Christian doctrine and is subject to the Ten Commandments of the Catholic Church. But ladies and gentlemen, may I inform you that under the 1987 Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines, Article 2, Section 6, the separation of church and state shall be inviolable and indestructible, meaning their arguments pertaining to religious matters is not acceptable since we are talking about the Philippines law here and not that of the church. Now that I have laid out my refutations to what my dear opponent has stated earlier, let me give you our team's plans to solidify our contention. First, with regards to euthanasia, it should be legalized in the Philippines, for it is a need, especially of the terminally ill patients. Second, the citizens and especially the physicians of the Philippines should be provided with adequate information, guidance, and the means to take his life is with an intention and a purpose. This information drive will debate the people from misconceptions of euthanasia. Third, a law pertaining to the scope or limits of euthanasia should be are giving more pain and heartache to the patient. Together with my reputations and the team's plans on the legalization of euthanasia, I hereby stand firm on the contention of the affirming proposition resolved that euthanasia be administered in the Philippines to those people who need it. Thank you, and I am now ready for the interpellation.
Interpellation of the second affirmative speaker by the second negative speaker for 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, Ms. Speaker.
Good afternoon.
Here is my first question. Do you love your family?
Yes, of course.
Can you stand seeing them die?
No.
Do you agree with suicide?
Suicide? Yes.
Okay, thank you. Are you aware that killing a person is a crime?
No.
Thank you so much, speakers. Now let's welcome the second negative speaker for her 5-minute constructive speech on this proposition.
Those who advocate euthanasia do so in the name of compassion. In this, they are undoubtedly sincere but misguided. Compassion is derived from Latvian means to suffer with, and in the context of dying persons, it translates as walking the rest of life's journey beside them, seeking their comfort at every stage. To kill them is a form of abandonment, precisely because the journey is found too tough by others. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I, as the second speaker in this side, strongly negate to the proposition that euthanasia be administered here in the Philippines. The Roman Catholic Church regards euthanasia as morally wrong. It has always taught the absolute and unchanging value of the commandment, "You shall not kill." Euthanasia is a rejection of the importance and value of human life. People who support euthanasia often say that it is already considered permissible to take human life under some circumstances, such as self-defense. But they miss the point that when one kills for self-defense, they are saving innocent lives, either their own or someone else's. With euthanasia, no one's life is being saved. Life is always taken. History has taught us the dangers of euthanasia, and that is why almost all societies, even non-religious ones, for thousands of years have made euthanasia is a crime. One of the key disadvantages of making euthanasia be legalized in the Philippines is that to discourage Filipino people not to support it. First, we should always consider the feelings of the people suffering or involved. Second, strengthen family ties. And lastly, strengthen and stabilize the law of God, as Pope John Paul II stated that euthanasia is a grave violation of the law of God, since it is deliberate and morally unacceptable killing of a human person. Once again, good afternoon. I am now ready for interpellation.
Interpellation of the second negative speaker by the second affirmative speaker for 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker. First question. Should people be forced to stay alive?
Yes.
Are you aware that it is made by an intention and has a purpose?
Yes.
Do you want to see your loved ones suffer?
Yes.
Are you in favor of making a person suffer by lengthening medical treatment even if that person wants to die?
No.
So, my dear opponent, are you telling to me that you are agreeing that euthanasia should be administered in the Philippines?
Thank you so much, both speakers.